Okay, hello and welcome back to the Zone Focus channel. My name is Chris. Thank you again for stopping by. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that a lot of people asked about when I posted this image on Instagram, and it is about a digital contact sheet. How do we make digital contact sheets? So let's go right into it. To make a digital contact sheet, you will need a few things. You'll need a camera to scan the film. You'll need a tripod to put your camera on. You will need a light source, preferably a light pad or some type of light source that you can lay flat on a table. You will also need negatives. You will need sleeve negatives. And then let's see what else. That's all you need. You only need those four things. After you set up the camera tripod with your negatives on top of your light, how I set mine up is I put my camera above my negative so that I could get all three negatives in one shot. So once everything is set up, then of course you go in and you take your focus, and I have a manual Canon FD lens that I'm using to focus with. So you digitally zoom into the negative and focus on the grain of the photo. After you focus on the grain of the photo, then you can zoom back out, and then you can proceed to start taking your images. Now, what I do is I get at least 2 rows in a single shot if I'm shooting medium format. Now, the trick is when you do this is that you want the rows that you take photos of to overlap, because when you take it to the next step, you're going to have to use those overlapping photos to stitch the photos together. So one thing to remember is to keep your photos aligned in the same way. If you angle a photo too much, it could throw off the stitching process after this. So keep that in mind when you're making your photos. Take enough photos to cover everything, and then you're good. After you have everything set up, then you want to take the photos that you just made from your camera and put them into your computer. And then we're going to move into Lightroom. After we get into Lightroom, the first thing you want to do is select both of the photos that you just made of your negative sheets. After you do that, then you want to go into your menus and go to the photo merge and then panorama. You can also hit Control M, and it'll bring up the panorama sheet. Now, once you get into panorama mode, it will automatically stitch your photos together. Now, I usually leave it on the custom settings that are already set. I don't really change anything. And what that will do is the overlapping photos that we made beforehand, it'll find the overlapping photos and it will stitch those photos together. And then basically you'll come out with a single sheet or a single photo with all of the images that you made. So I took 3 photos, and you can't link all 3 of them at the same time. You have to do 2 at a time. So I did the first 2 photos, and then after the first 2, I selected the image that had both of those photos on it and selected the third image. So I highlighted the single image with the first 2, and then I highlighted the third image, and I did that same process again, panorama mode or Control M on the Mac. And then that brings up the panorama mode. You select it, it does its job, stitches everything together, and then boom, you have one single sheet or one single photo with all of your photos on it, right? So now we're starting to get something that looks like a contact sheet. Now, after that, I go in and I kind of make sure everything's aligned correctly. Honestly, if your lens is good, you might be able to get flat photos made off the bat. So you might not have to morph or move anything like I did with these photos right here. All I'm trying to do is make sure it's aligned and everything is straight before I go in and do the rest of the process. So I'm trying to basically, because the lens that I was using has some distortion, and because of that distortion, because it's a wide lens, because of that distortion, there's rounding on the edges of the photo. So I had to try to straighten that out. But again, if you have a lens that doesn't have distortion and it's wide enough to get all of the photos in it, you have nothing to worry about. So yeah, from there, after you get all of that set up, everything's nice and neat and in order. What you want to do is you want to go in and actually crop into the photo, or only one photo. Once you've cropped down into the single photo, now this is when I use the program called Negative Lab Pro. And what happens is Negative Lab Pro will flip the image that it's cropped down into. And basically, once the image is flipped, that's what you want, because that'll actually flip all of the images on your single photo with all of the images. So you want to leave a little border, but you don't want to do the Negative Lab Pro process with the entire photo, because all of the borders in the photo will throw off Negative Lab Pro. You want to make sure you crop down into a single image, so Negative Lab Pro thinks you're only converting one image. Now, this is not going to give you the perfect image on any of the photos. This is just going to be a generalized version of every single photo, because Negative Lab Pro is only converting the photo you're cropped into, and then it tries to and then once you zoom back out, all of that will be the same across the board. So as you can see right here, go back and uncrop the photo, and if you go all the way back out into your regular sheet, there you have it. You have a contact sheet now. Now you have reversed images of all of the photos, and then you can zoom in on each individual photo and get an idea of what you got. So as you can see, because I made these photos with a digital camera, there's still a lot of detail in these photos. As you can see how far I'm zooming into the photo and actually still getting a lot of detail in each image. So it gives you a lot of room to play with once you actually get the image onto a tablet or a device like that. Now I'm just going back and making a couple little tweaks to it. Again, because this isn't a TIFF file, make sure when you actually do the process, do not export as a TIFF file inside of Negative Lab Pro. You want to exit Negative Lab Pro after you do your first adjustment, and then go in and make sure everything's okay. Then you can open Negative Lab Pro again, like I just did, and export or make a TIFF copy of the file, because you'll need the TIFF copy when you go into the last part of this process where you're actually trying to mark up the image. So now that all of those steps are done, you have made your positives through Negative Lab Pro or whatever software that you use, and you've also stitched your images together so you have one single photo with all of your negatives on it. Now you have a digital contact sheet. So from there, you want to take your digital contact sheet, and this is when you can put it onto a mobile device. And this is when you get to the point where you can actually start to use it like a real contact sheet. So let's take a look at that. Now, this is the beauty of having a digital contact sheet. When you actually have a contact sheet that you can look at all of the photos on one single roll of film, this is when the power of the contact sheet really comes to life. Now, this not only saves you time because you're taking two photos to make one contact sheet, but it'll also save you memory on your hard drives. Now, the beautiful thing is, like I said, you can go in and I can say, okay, let's see. All right, so we got 3 photos. For example, right here, I took 3 photos of the same scene. I can look at this and I can say, oh, well, let's see. I like this framing. This was cool. I had all of the things right here, all of the little Buddhas. Oh, but I like this one because it's got the fine details in it. But let's see, compared to this one, I kind of got a little bit of everything. I have the scene. I have some extra stuff. I like how that looks. This one's a little too simple, so I don't like that. We're going to X that one out, okay? Now, boom, that's X'd out. We know we don't want that one. Let's see. I like this one a little more because I like that one. So I'm going to circle this one. I like that one. Let's see. And then I like this one as well. We have a little bit of detail everywhere. Boom. I like that. So having the ability to do all of these things, see an entire roll of film in one shot, is the beauty of having a contact sheet. And now you have it digitally, so you can store multiple contact sheets on a single file or on a single page. So as you can see here, I have a whole roll of 120 film that I have a contact sheet of, and now I can see what photos I like. right? Like, oh, I like that one. And then I can see what photos I don't like. I don't like this one. I can go back now and I can scan only this photo, which will save space on my hard drive and keep me from having to spend a lot of time scanning photos. Now that you have your digital contact sheet all ready to go, you have it on your tablet or you have it on your mobile device that you can use a markup system with or a markup application. Now this is when you can really do whatever you like with your with your contact sheet. Now the benefits of using a digital contact sheet is, one, you will save a lot of time because you don't have to scan every single roll, every single photo on every single roll of film. So you can make 2 photos of an entire roll of film, stitch it together, and then from there you can look at what photos you like and what photos you don't like. From there you can actually make a larger scan of the individual photo that you want to use. So there are a lot of benefits of using digital contact sheets, and I hope in some way that this video helped you out. And if it did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to this channel. Make sure you go check out the original video that I got this whole thing from down in the description below. And as always, stay zone focused. I'll holler at you later. Peace.